Greetings all. Well, it's a beautiful day here. Yesterday was also a beautiful day here. So the day before it was cold. It really never got above the upper 60s all day long here. So I kind of hid out. I didn't get much done. Minimal level of activities. But yesterday, well, beautiful sunny weather got me out there, and so we put in snap beans, and I put in 5 or 6 rows of sweet corn. It's the midwinter sweet corn planting time here. I also, then today, because it's very nice weather, I planted an awful lot of romaine lettuce. And I harvested some Manoa lettuce that I had growing out there. I got a real good crop of romaine. There's the pole beans mixed with romaine lettuce. Over here we have cabbage, broccoli. Over here, a whole lot of cabbage. Onions and leeks. Okay, here we got 5 rows of Hawaiian sweet corn with plenty of chicken manure on it. All the little green shoots you see popping up all over the place out there, that's all perennial peanut. I flamed off everything else here, planted the corn, and then the peanuts popped up. Over here on the far side, we have more romaine lettuce. Now, ain't that a beauty? Mm-hmm. Yum, yum. There's some anue lettuce. It's a Hawaiian variety, doing quite well. Well, I still have a few 6-packs of vegetables left in the nursery that haven't been planted. There's some coastal gem romaine. I have some Godzilla broccoli, which is killer. Oh, yeah. And so I have red cabbages. So if anybody out there needs a few vegetable plants for midwinter planting, we still have some. I'll keep putting them into the field if no one shows up. Otherwise, let's see. More randomness, right? I had a comment from a guy who used to work for me. It didn't work very long, but it was unusual because he was actually a cartographer, but he'd taken a job in the nursery in California when I was running it. And I remember assigning him the project of actually doing a digital map of the nursery for us at the time. I hadn't even thought about him for the longest time. He chimed in on the lacebug video. He says, "Hey, I know that guy." Yeah, it's true. I might not have remembered you, except I guess you're the only cartographer I've ever employed. Yeah, so that was one. Otherwise, I got some comments when I was talking about neighbors, and that I have the same guy on both sides, and that he's renting buildings and so on here, vacation rental and stuff. I had one of the viewers chime in and ask about, wow, how do people, build a house over there and then leave it? Who maintains the houses? Blah 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 blah. Yeah, there's a lot of ways to look at that, I guess, but for starters, so much of the real estate problems that we have here currently are actually from people from off-island investing. That's really bad on Maui and on Oahu. I have heard that some of the local people attempting to buy new houses, they're offering $50,000 to $100,000 over the asking prices, are getting outbid, and they're mostly getting outbid by people from off island. Some of this is maybe people making plans to live in paradise or something. But I think the vast majority of it really is people making investments because they're, doing this vacation rental stuff. That used to be pretty easy around here, and it was pretty free. It isn't really anymore, especially not since COVID, because, what's happening is we got a housing shortage. especially we have a housing shortage on Oahu and Maui. We don't really have a housing shortage here on the Big Island. We still have houses and room, but the problem is still similar. Low interest rates, people flocked in here and started buying stuff, and well, have driven the prices up so high now. I think it's something like 1.1 mil for the average family home on Maui. It's pretty expensive over here now too. So they're basically, the people that live here are getting priced out of the real estate market mostly by offshore investing. And a lot of the offshore investing is looking towards using these as vacation rentals. They intend to, maybe spend a month a year in them and then rent the thing out. Well, the question one of the guys had on the comments was, who takes care of this? Well, trust me, the laws have been tightened up to such an extent over here when it comes to this stuff that, basically you can't have a vacation rental unless you have a vacation rental manager. And so this is a full-scale business where you're going to hire somebody to take care of it. You're probably going to hire somebody else to do the landscape maintenance and so on. And so it's pretty pricey, but there's been sort of a reality check, I think, over here with people that live in Hawaii when COVID hit really hard and they shut the doors, out here in the islands. And for a while, pretty much the only people you saw around here were locals. That was it. Just the people that lived on these islands were the only people. Well, I got to admit, it was nice. It was real nice. We make plenty of money off the tourists here. Yeah, there's good income that comes from it. But, boy, I tell you, there's a price to pay, too. They love this place to death. And when we actually had it all to ourselves for a while, some people had some second thoughts about, what should we be doing here with vacations and tourists on the islands. The general idea these days, coming up, at least up out of the government, and to some extent from the grassroots too, is that, tourists are good, but we want the ones that got lots and lots of money, and we don't want so many of them. In other words, if they could do it, they'd make this place so expensive that only the really wealthy could even come here for a vacation, which would then limit. It is a very expensive place to come for a vacation. It really is. It's a wonderful place. Yeah, it's a great place, but, accommodations expensive, food's crazy expensive, gas is crazy expensive, and so on. Everything here can be really expensive and is now, with inflation, 7.5% now in January, since the beginning of COVID, I guess. That's a lot. So... I've said many times, people who listen to the channel, that money's an abstract commodity, man. It has no absolute value whatsoever. And we really get way overwrought over money and about its value. I opened up my checking account the other day to go ahead and pay some bills that came in, and I happened to notice these, like 4 cent or 8 cent. These were the interest I was paying on my checking account. I'm going, oh, that's pathetic. Yeah, so once inflation starts, boy, the interest ain't going to help you at all. Dividends might, depending on where you're at, who you're invested in. But right now, even that is sort of like this. I've been watching, $5,000 to $30,000 pulsing almost daily in my accounts right now, up and down, up and down, up and down. In general, they've kind of been tailing downward right now, off a peak of the bull market we had last year. But yeah, it's kind of hard to figure out how you're going to keep up with all that, but it's already so expensive over here, and now that real estate's getting driven even higher, they always call Las Vegas the ninth island. I know an awful lot of people that live here moved to Las Vegas because they can't afford to live in Hawaii anymore, even if they were born here. Setting up vacation rental building a house or buying a house and then putting it out on Airbnb and all that stuff and renting it out. Capitalistic economy, do what you want, but as far as that really a very green idea, no, it's not. Is it a socially responsible idea? Not very much, because the whole thing where people are buying these houses and or making them and they're renting them out to tourists, local people haven't got a place to rent or live. That's what's happening. Maui and Oahu eventually are only going to be for the multimillionaires. Nobody else is going to be able to afford to live there. I can see why. The environment's incredible. The weather, the scenery, so many activities, and we're outside all the time. It's a healthy environment. It's just, a wonderful place, and everybody wants to be here. Yeah, I chose the Big Island because it has no freeways. There's no way to get here with a car. Of course, you can't do that with any of the other islands. And it's got an active volcano that belches out lava all the time. It'll burn your house to the ground. You don't want to be here. Yeah, that's sometimes that's what I'd like to say to everybody. Stay away. Don't come. Every place I've ever lived has really almost always gotten overrun. I guess northern Wisconsin was the only place I ever lived that hasn't, but it's already overrun with mosquitoes and colder than a witch's booby, whatever. So it's, other than hunters and fishermen and people like snowmobiles and stuff, it isn't a place anybody really wants to be, other than during the summer on some of the lakes. But even then, watch out for the mosquitoes. They will eat you alive. Hawaii's different. This is the middle of February. The only reason I got a long sleeve shirt on is to make sure that the mosquitoes won't bite the back of my elbow while I'm planting in the garden. That's the same thing with the overalls. Otherwise, I'd be out here in my aloha shirt and a pair of shorts too, because it's very nice today. 75, 76 degrees maybe. Good guess. I'm squinting because the sun is bright. I've run across so many people whose dream is to set up, vacation rental situations, and it's not a very green way to go, personally. There's no good contributions to the culture of the society over here by investing in the economy in that way. Bed and breakfast is better. It's better. Yeah, it is. But guaranteed, anybody who's been thinking about this, who remembers how easy it used to be over here to do this kind of stuff, it isn't anymore, and it's going to increasingly get harder, and the scrutiny is going to get tighter and tighter and tighter on it. You guarantee that. Yeah, guarantee that. The boom in the real estate market and having the place alone for a while from COVID has changed a lot of minds about what we really want over here. Yes, we get overrun at times. Luckily, the Big Island, 400,000 square miles. I think the last census had about 190,000 permanent residents on it. And it isn't usually the number one pick. Most tourists will think first of Maui or of Oahu usually and go there. That's true, although I saw statistics claiming that Hawaii Volcanoes National Park over here, that was supposedly the number one most visited site in all of Hawaii. Well, that's 14 miles up the road, so... Yeah, so still continuing to respond to the person that, asked me about, wow, how do you maintain a building over there and so forth when you're not living on the island? And yeah, I don't think it's the greatest idea in the world. I did it for a number of years, and I really didn't have any trouble with it either. But when it came to the landscape around the buildings, that's my business. I'm pretty sharp at it, and I managed to get things going over here without any problems or disasters as far as the plantings were concerned after we built the house. As far far as anything else, though, this property is in a good location. It's a nice neighborhood. It is also extremely visible. You can't miss us, and we can't miss you. You can look right in here, and I can look right out and all the way to the edge of the earth over the ocean from here. And so we're extremely visible. And, well, there are no shoulders to speak of on the road out here. And so there is no place you can pull over unless you're coming into my driveway. If you do pull over, you're going to block half the road, and so you're in danger. Trust me, you don't want to sit out there long. And everybody can see you. There's very little of anything on this property that's actually hidden from the road. And from the road, as you go by, you look in, you can pretty much see everything except me taking a shower, and you don't want to see that. We're very visible. And that visibility is really why our location, I feel, is safe. Cockroaches or scumbags or crooks, whatever you want to call them, guys, they're cockroaches here. They don't like being seen. They like to creep around like a rat and be hidden. And so, if you have a building that is set back off the road and there's a lot of vegetation, so you really can't see what's going on in there, oh yeah, watch out. Because if there's anything worth stealing, somebody may very well go in there and steal it. Of course, most of us have gates, and, if your gates are locked, it's kind of hard to carry too much stuff out. You'd have to walk in to do things. So it's all about how you got it set up. But, these days, if you're thinking about doing this and you want to rent it to somebody part-time, well, you're going to need a whole lot of infrastructure. Like I say, it's going to have to be registered as a vacation rental with the state. You're going to pay taxes on it. You have requirements, again, that you're going to have a manager to do this, and so on and so forth. That whole idea that fueled a lot of building and investing over here, at least on this island in the past, well, that idea is dying. Plus, COVID hit, and most people who were involved in the tourism business, they suffered. Well, it's not a real good way to make a living lately. It has been. Yeah, it has been. But it's like almost all gone. There used to be so many people on the hustle over here before COVID, when this was busy and there was nothing impeding tourism, and we had cruise ships and planes and people flocking to the islands, to enjoy themselves. There were so many people on the hustle. I mean, everything from cupcakes and cookies being sold to, making chocolate. Tours, I haven't seen a tour bus even. There used to be tours that pulled up to the cruise ships, and they take people all around the islands. There must be some of that going on, but man, everything is just way minimalized here compared to what it used to be. I'm not in a situation where this really impacts my economy much, so I don't care. I'm probably more affected by inflation than I am by the lack of tourists. But none of it really phases me much, although this has got to hit some people pretty hard. Yeah, long time ago, I set myself up in a position of stability economically, and that's apparently did it right, because at least half the world's gone to heck in a handbasket, and I hardly notice it. It's quieter. Yeah, it's quieter than it used to be. I don't miss the helicopters. Now that we have an eruption at Halemaumau, there are a few choppers flying around now. There's a few of them. But it used to be that I couldn't hardly get through one of these videos here without having like two of the things going overhead while I'm trying to record. You guys never hear this stuff because I shut the camera off and I shake my fists at them and I cuss 4-letter words at the top of my and then I cool myself down and turn the camera on and I keep going. But yeah, I don't know, maybe I noticed 2 choppers a day lately, so there apparently aren't that many tourists taking helicopters over the volcano. That's apparently what it is. Anyway, there you go. More random thoughts again, as usual. It seems to be a habit lately. I've got nothing completely tied together. It's all just have it all, folks. Aloha.